at 6:30.
Hey, mic's up. And Andrew, can you hear us? We all right? All right, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. The Nottoway County Local Redevelopment Authorities will now be called to order. Thank y'all for coming, and I appreciate you getting here. Y'all get a chance to get the early bird special. I appreciate that. Board members, I'd like for us to I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
All right, got a motion and a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Also, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Looks like it's the regular monthly LRA meeting that was held March 16th, 2023.
Move that we
Go on, Mr.
receive and adopt the minutes.
Okay, got Mr. Bond, thank you for that motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, got a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, unfinished business, seeing any right now. Mr. Costin, or you?
No, sir.
Okay, don't look. No invisible ink there then.
No, sir.
All right, new business? None on that as well. All right, staff report, Mr. Shane Hawkins, thank you for coming, and appreciate you giving me a little tour the other day. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
thank you for coming out. I appreciate it, too. And you too, Mr. Work. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Today, I'm going to start off with one of the projects I've been working on is I've noticed in the past few months, I guess with a lot of activity on post, a lot of food trucks. So I want to think about putting food trucks hookups with electrical and water on a couple vacant lots and use it as generate income for LRA and try to compete. And there's lots of, I've had 3 phone calls from local catering companies and restaurants that asked if they could put them out there. And I said, if I got a spot for you, I'll do it. So I think it's a good idea. Second thing is we have 8 sets of washers and dryers in 8 different buildings, and they're constantly breaking down or being broken on purpose with the students. They don't know how to use them. So one of the things I did, I reached out to a couple different companies that do laundry services on a commercial level, and I also reached out to 2 laundromats in Blackstone, local businesses, and asked them if they'd be interested in putting their washers and dryers at their cost on our property. So I don't have to maintain them, repair them, or have staff repair them if they break down in the middle of the night and someone calls me. I think it'd be a good idea to kind of move forward in that kind of direction. Another thing is I showed 2 buildings last night to a daycare owner who wants to build a daycare there on the property. And we have 2 buildings I think might fit what she's looking for. A lot of it depends on her funding and how far she wants to go with renovations. One is an old abandoned movie theater that I didn't even know we had, and one is a 2-story barracks. And whichever the layout works best for her, she may be interested in working with LRA as a team and building her business, and she wants to hire up to 6 staff and 50 students, children in her daycare. And she already has a daycare in the county with 30 children, so she wants to expand. So I think it might be a good opportunity to help her out.
Let's take a little, put the brakes for a second. On the first item, you know.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. So on the first item you mentioned about the food trucks, and he shared that with me about, you know, a lot of people get a 30-minute lunch and ain't got time to get out, so they have a chance to get, spend money. So what you're talking about is just renting like an area that's just a blank spot there.
An abandoned field. I don't know if it used to have a Army barracks on it or not, but it's a cleared field on the corner of 10th and Military Road near the LRA office, and it's a flat level surface, and there's already a food truck across the street, and there's going to be another one coming in, and a local business owner that bought from us years ago rents that to them. So we have a sign company that bought a piece of property, and she rents her space to 2 food trucks, and I thought, why can't we do it on ours?
So what do you need as far as infrastructure to get that going?
Well, the only thing I need is I need to have a few power lines run and a few water lines so that they can hook up the food trucks to them. And there's a building right on the corner. I can tap into that power box, that panel, and run the water line. And I've already have 2 gentlemen lined up to give me estimates next week.
Okay.
Almost like if you're in an RV park.
Okay,
Just a station to hook up to.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure the public understands.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. We don't need a formal vote or anything on that.
I think if you're going to wait for the estimates to come in.
You wait the estimates?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Mr. Chairman, too, also with that, need to make sure anybody that's selling out there is properly licensed and insured. And speaking of insurance, same thing with the washer and dryers. They need to list
Absolutely.
the county as additionally assured on their insurance riders.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be inside of our structure.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
And that's why I reached out to legitimate companies that are already established, and there's a couple of apartment communities in the area that I got the numbers from, and that's what they're doing. I'm just following suit what they've already started.
Right, okay.
Okay. All right.
And then the daycare we just talked about, that's a future project that may or may not work. The last meeting I spoke about discontinuing supplies to tenants, paper towels, toilet tissue, janitor supplies, cleaning rooms, using our washers and dryers, and our housekeeping staff cleaning their rooms for them twice a week and doing their laundry. We no longer do that as of the 10th. I gave proper notice to all tenants, gave plenty of notice, and not much pushback from them. They pretty much expected it to happen one day. So that saves us. The last bill I got from a janitor supply company was around $6,000. So I'm hoping that'll be down to under $500 a month now. So that's a quick savings right there.
When COVID hit, now we know all the toilet paper went.
There you go.
Over there in Fort Pickett, we couldn't get any.
Well, what I'm doing with the housekeeping staff, because they're not obviously as busy as they were, I've redirected them to now clean on a regular basis the officers club and the incubator building.
Gotcha.
That was being done sporadically. Now it's in a rotation, so now everybody keeps their same hours and same work schedule.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
The other thing is I need to buy a trailer to haul lawn equipment with, and that's just a side note, if possible. And we purchased recently a nice mower. We had one break down. This is cutting season. When things break down at the beginning of the season, they did. So we recently had to purchase one, and now we need a trailer to haul it with.
Yeah, I think, we have enough funds to get at this budget? I mean, you need to get for grass cutting season, so.
Yeah.
I think they were okay for this season,
Okay,
for this
Right.
budget year.
gotcha.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think is that amount of the trailer going to exceed an amount where we need to do an RFP or anything, or can we just let him go ahead and do a purchase? Because if you're just looking at a single axle trailer, it's probably going to be under $1,000 anyway.
Well, the one I'm looking for, it has to be enough to haul two zero-turn mowers. So probably, I would think a 6x10 trailer with a gate on the back, probably around $3,000 to $3,500 at most.
Okay, so you
Depending
are
on where I
looking
can
at
find it.
you are looking at dual axle then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
And we would be running that through the necessary procurement in terms of competitive bids and trying to get some comparative numbers.
I don't know that we have anything to actually take a formal motion on other than allowing him to do
No,
it.
I think just get a general census of the board, of the authority. You know, everybody's okay? All right.
Okay. And of course, ground season, that's where this all came about. We just recently started it, and the workforce crew's been very helpful with me, and it's a lot to catch up on. So that season started about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So that's it. And the last thing was I wanted to bring up maybe moving forward with a possible redevelopment of the properties and buildings at LRA. And that's something we spoke about, and part of the tour we talked about. And if you all want to speak further on that, it's...
Yeah, I think we ought to open, I know we're always watching the clock with this thing because we want to start the other meeting on time, but I think we need to go ahead and open floor and discussion on that a little bit. Yeah, I'm all about, let's get out of the rental business.
Yes, sir.
I just think that's just not a government function, but I'll let the board speak. Everybody wants
Well,
authority, I mean.
I think those first set of buildings, the three, I believe it is, with the office, I think we ought to be looking at exiting us away from that and immediately.
Okay.
I know there was the old fire building that's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that we could tear that down. And
Yes,
then,
sir.
as well as moving forward with, you had some contacts about possibly coming in and renovating the buildings, whether they want to purchase them or renovate them.
Yes, sir.
I think we can move forward with all that. I'm good with moving forward with all that.
So what would be if the board is okay with it, what would be the procedure? Do you put an RFP out, or do you let him get his feelers out and get somebody to see if they're interested? What do you?
Would you want to do an assessment through the county prior to me getting anything rolling and started?
No, when you say an assessment, you're talking about a real estate assessment? Or
Yes, sir.
Okay.
it would be your call.
Of course, you know that we've got reassessment going on
Right.
right now, so there'll be some numbers coming available to us in a few months, or you could base it off of the existing numbers and market trends. Typically, for what we have typically done, putting something out in negotiation for sale has been to get some sort of an assessment on the property, not so much an appraisal on the property, and moving forward from that point.
Yes, sir.
If that's what the authority wants to do, we can pull that together.
Yes, sir.
But Shannon, I want to make sure we understand, you're talking about the 3 rental units that we looked at on the tour.
Yes, sir.
But when you say redevelopment, you're talking about selling those as is.
Yes, sir.
All right, and when you say redevelopment, were you talking about moving forward with some of the improvements and repairs on the property? Because the board, and sitting as the LRA, they've looked at the budget and
Yes, sir.
kind of, remember, we had the meeting, they kind of cut the big
Yes.
project list in half and then said, okay, let's do some next year, next fiscal year,
Yes,
and
sir.
some the next fiscal year. So
Some of
I
the
just want
funds,
to make the distinction between repairs and maintenance and
Right.
kind of a new way of doing business.
I understand. Any proceeds from the sale of those properties would go towards any new future projects.
Right.
Ms. Hall, I'm sorry.
No, are these properties not currently being rented?
Ma'am?
Are these properties, we talked about them being rental properties, they're not currently being rented?
Oh, they are. They're occupied, but we have so many major repairs and issues with the buildings that we're never going to put enough money into it to break even. And I have multiple rooms that are so far gone. It would cost more to renovate one room from damage, water damage, age, all that, than you would ever get in rent in probably 20 years.
Okay,
And that's true numbers.
okay.
Well, and Shane, I'm sorry, Mr. Hogan,
That's okay.
as I understand it, those buildings, the only repairs we were really looking at doing at those was the water heaters.
Right.
And then we were looking to sell those buildings. The repairs and demo and rehab would be to the other rows of building that we look to.
Right. The redevelopment part of the authority would be to think about in the future. We have many buildings out there that are in good standing shape mechanically and structurally. They're just cosmetically in bad shape. My thoughts were to renovate those into new apartments. Many different choices in apartments, 55 and older, conventional, even tax credit. But it's a different situation than the ones we're renting now, because what we have now are more of temporary housing. So, and we have the buildings just sitting there empty.
Right, all right, yeah, right,
That would be another revenue source.
yeah. We'll take and Mr. Rourke had mentioned this before, and I think Mr. Costin as well, that we might take a look at some tree cutting as well.
Yes, sir, there is. And Mr. Constant months ago asked me to look into it, and I have. There needs to be some, about probably 50 yards back and probably 300 yards long section of fence line at the airport that needs to come down. And I've already talked to 2 people about possibly giving me an idea to timber that, what the cost would be. And I believe it's something that was requested from the airport, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And so I did a follow-up with some people on post, and there's other people that are involved too.
Okay. All right, good report. Anything else, anybody want comments? All right, stand on it, we got information around lease actions or club income, anything about that?
Well, we really busy with club income. I don't have the income report for you right now just for the club, but yeah, we're every weekend we have an event. And today we had graduation, the 50th graduation of the linemen through Southside Virginia Community College.
Right.
It was a nice event at the club, and we're having a prom this weekend for Central, and last week we had a prom, so we're staying busy.
Gotcha, okay. All right, anything else, Shane?
No, sir,
Mr. Hawkins,
thank you.
excuse me. All right, Ms. Simmons, I'm entertaining a motion to go into close.
I was just going to ask him, would you, when Mr. Bowen asked for the consensus of the board, did that give you everything you needed on all those items that you needed, or were we only talking about that one specific item to give him a consensus on?
That's a good point. I felt like he had enough to move on. If we need to intervene, we can have a quick redevelopment meeting or something. I know I've got to advertise, but we can do that.
Right, yeah, because my consensus was for all those items that he was speaking of as well.
Yes, sir, and I can get
Properly
brokers and
procured.
investments.
Properly procured
Yes,
with
sir.
the insurance factor. Okay.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay, now, because we got to keep moving, folks, I'm entertaining a motion to go in closed session. Ms. Simmons?
To move that the Fort Pickett Local Redevelopment Authority of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A3. Discussion or consideration of acquisition of real property for public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically property located within Fort Pickett.
Second.
All right, we got a proper motion to go in closed session with a second. Any further discussion? Who's going to be present with us, Mr. Costa?
I want to ask Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Zodi to
All
join
right,
us.
Mr. Zodi, Mr. Hawkins, y'all are welcome. Thank y'all for coming in. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We're going in closed session. Mic up. Mic up. Chairman, you turn your mic on. All right, I'm entertaining a motion for the local redevelopment authority to come back in session.
I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Ms. Simmons, will you a motion for certification?
Certification of closed meeting. Whereas the Fort Pickett Local Redevelopment Authority of Nottoway County, Virginia has convened and closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this local redevelopment authority that such closed meetings was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fort Pickett Local Redevelopment Authority of Nottoway County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting was here discussed or considered by the local redevelopment authority. And 3, no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed.
Second.
All right, so I had a motion, I had a proper second. Any further discussion? Mr. Costa, will you certify?
Yes, sir. Mr. Vaughn, do you so certify?
Yes.
Ms. Shackleton, do you so certify?
Yes.
Ms. Simmons, do you so certify?
Yes.
Mr. Ward, do you so certify?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, do you so certify?
Yes, sir. Any further comments, anybody from local authority? Okay. With that said, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the Nottoway County Local Redevelopment Authority meeting.
So move.
All right,
Second.
got a motion, got a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed, okay? Meeting adjourned. All right. Now, we're shifting gears here. So I'm calling to order the Nottoway County regular scheduled board meeting for April 20th, 7 o'clock p.m. Before I ask for the invocation, I just want to apologize to the public. We got in some discussions back there that went a little bit further than we wanted to, and I apologize for that. I'm really thankful that you're here and your patience as well. With that said, I'm asking, there's two things that I'm nervous when I get around, a preacher and a dentist. And so, Dr. Leroy Bradshaw, will you come up here? Reverend Dr. Leroy Bradshaw, will you come on up here? But anyway, I do know you're still, I don't know if you're tired of, you're still preaching at Jonesboro Baptist Church?
I still am.
Okay, and
still-
I'd like to, if you want to, you share some of the things that I know y'all have a great back-to-school program, helping sometimes in September. Is that still going on in August or something?
We're working on it.
You're working, but y'all been a good source for our community, and we'd much appreciate it.
Well, we thank you. We want to have a guiding principle in the community and in this county. We met today with our regular meeting of the Blackstone Ministerial Association, and we're joined by the new Crew Ministerial Association.
Oh, okay.
And so we hope we'll draw that together
Okay.
in the future, but we're working on one particular thing, which I hope will be in the paper next week, National Day of Prayer. It's May 4th, Thursday, and we're asking all of our whole area to join. That'll come. It'll be from 12 to 1 on May 4th,
Okay, thank you, sir.
and that at Crenshaw United Methodist Church. All are invited, and that's to draw our community together to pray for our country. And that will be a program where we have somebody representing from government all the way down to churches and to our communities. Someone will be having a little 3-minute presentation followed by a prayer by one of the ministers of the association
All right,
or a community person.
sounds good. Thank you so much for
So
sharing that
put
with us.
that in there. I beat Billy to it this time.
Good.
Yeah, I heard it was. Okay. Anything else that I need
That's
to
it.
tell you
Thank you,
about?
sir.
Okay. All right, let's pray. Why on earth am I here, Lord? I did not choose this time. But your plan was for me to be here in this time. And your plan is also for each of us who are here. We did not choose to be born in Peter's time. We did not choose to be born in St. Augustine's time. But every one of us has been placed here in your time. There is no moment that is not yours. And so, Lord, as we come, we're given the gift of choice. And that gift of choice is to choose to follow you or choose to follow ourselves, Satan. Very natural for us to follow ourselves, but you give us the Holy Spirit. The fruits of that Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, and self-control. Against such there is no law. And we have opportunities. We have opportunities to be wise, opportunities to be unwise. But we still have the choice, and that is never removed from us. Help us, Lord, to pause, to think, who's being served? You or ourselves or Satan? Lord, that is our gift, the gift of the Holy Spirit, promised to us to choose. Help us as we go through this day, this hour, this minute, to be in your presence in all things. Our time is not our time. It is purely your time. You created us and guide us as we go through it. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Bradshaw. Thank you. We gave honor to God. Let's give honor to country. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. All right, board members, got a few things we need to get straight before we get to the delegations from the public. I'd like to get approval of the agenda. So I'm entertaining a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, please, I'd like to add 2 items to the agenda.
Okay. Mr.
One
Cox.
is to the presentations, introduction of the building official,
Okay.
and then at J2, under new business, an MOU with the United States Marine Corps. And that's all.
Mr. Chairman, there's one item here on unfinished business, the resolution regarding water service. I'd like to defer that. It appears that the town's in a further discussion right now, and they may be coming to us with an agreement on a boundary line adjustment. So I'd like to remove that at this time.
Okay. Board members, everybody agree with that? That's the I3, unfinished business.
That's fine.
All right, and I was going to add one, but we're going to refer it to May. I'm just I noted and I appreciate. I see we got Mayor Green is here as well tonight, and probably some others that I may not see in out there. But the 3 towns did, and I talked to Mr. Carson, but we're going to put this in the May meeting. The 3 towns did, I think, pledge $2,500 for the what's it called, the Virginia 250.
250 celebration for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
So we want the county to take the same type of example, so we'll put that in the May. And Zodi, Mr. Zodi, that's fine with you, sir? Okay. All right, so we made some changes. Everybody seems to agree. I'm entertaining a motion now that we approve the agenda with the amendments just made.
So moved.
So move that we receive and adopt.
Second?
All right, the agenda got a motion, a proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. All right, hearing none, going to C, approval of the minutes. So I'm entertaining a motion to approve for the work session of the board and the VDOT 6-year plan held March 16, 2023, and the regular monthly meeting that was held March 16, 2023.
I so move that we receive and adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Got a motion, Mr. Vaughn, on that. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, hearing a second. Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Now we got all the fun stuff done. Let's hear what the public's got to say. Delegation from the public. I got the first gentleman is Mr. Abbott of Little Creek Road and Crew. Mr. Abbott, thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Costin, fellow citizens.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's April. The budget's a concern, along with numerous leadership worries. I'm going to mention items tonight that some may think poorly of me for saying it out loud. In hopes there is a modicum of understanding, let me begin. The animal shelter needs to be built. Size and cost are budget issues. The CARES organization has done an outstanding job raising monies, and they can't be thanked enough for what they've accomplished and continue to do. Tonight's agenda suggests we are going to quote a 5,700 square foot structure when there are serious questions of being able to fund that size building in the 23-24 budget. Why does it need to be 5 times larger than what has been used for years? A facility 2.5 to 3 times the current size has a better chance of being funded despite the possible cost between $1.3 and $1.7 million when using the $526 per square foot of previously estimated construction costs. Proposed legal expenses will roughly provide 56 to 64 hours per month, depending upon which attorney is doing the work, or 14 to 16 hours every week. I believe lawyers are needed from time to time to reduce the impact of poor decision-making or to handle duties that should be performed by the administrator or through a cost-competitive hire. In my opinion, there seems to be a misunderstanding of whom is responsible to make the budget balance. What part does the board play, the county administrator, staff, or those requesting funds? The budget must be balanced when approved. After that, it seems that it can be unbalanced until the next budget cycle. The board's motions approve items not originally in the budget. They approve the consent calendar for additions and subtractions. Additionally, the county administrator can act on behalf of the board. Yes, it's more complicated than that, isn't it? Who is authorized to spend appropriated county funds in excess of budgeted amounts? Are the current shortcomings being addressed with an all-hands approach or with select engagement? Nottoway has issues. What county doesn't? Am I confused on where the responsibility rests to control spending? Policies, I believe, are the obligation of the board. It might be helpful to have a comprehensive understanding of every employee's job, their job duties and responsibilities, especially when it comes to spending, and what latitude the board is allowing leadership to make without prior approval. And when I use the term job duties, I'm not referring to job titles. It's the actual job description. In my work history, I was encouraged to face the issues head on, resolve them, then determine next steps. It didn't help making fixes while at the same time trying to determine fault. Early fault finding can lead to extremely uncomfortable circumstances that always seem to cloud the final outcome. I want to thank Mr. Costin, for his email I received Tuesday, April 18th. It appears to be a statement he presented to the board at a meeting on Monday, April 17th. It was incorrect of me when I said that there were monies spent in excess of $100,000. Apparently, I screwed up when it came to putting the Davenport study, which was just under $27,000, and the school facility study, which was in excess of $100,000. In fact, it was $119,000. I appreciate the correction. Mr. Costin made an error saying I said it was in excess of $150,000 in his prepared statement to the board. I clearly stated, and in my written March statement, of which the county has a copy, shows $100,000. Know that I'll make every effort to ensure what I say is accurate and what I share is written so it can be clearly and easily understood. And please, don't answer any of these questions tonight. I appreciate what you are trying to do, Mr. Chairman. Please, let's see if, in the future, we all can do better in asking and responding.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. If you don't mind, if you just say, but anybody got any questions, point of clarification? The only thing I would like to say, one thing that people don't do as much as they used to or should do is admit when they're wrong and when they say something wrong that's not correct. And I appreciate that. My respect for you, Mr. Abbott, has increased tremendously by just you making that statement, and I thank you for that.
Well, I try to do what's right, and I made an error. I confused two numbers. But apparently I'm not the only one that can make mistakes.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
I'm loaded with them too.
I'll take responsibility for my
All right.
error.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Costin. All right. Next on for delegations of the public, Ann Moore of Lawrenceville, Virginia. Ms. Moore, thank you for coming.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ann Moore, and I am from Brunswick County, where the issue of solar facility construction is currently in the approval process. I would like to share with you some of the concerns that I have that may be helpful as Nottoway County addresses this issue. First, I'm not here to debate the merits of solar power, which I do find questionable. In my county, it's already been adopted. Brunswick leadership initially decided to go with 2.5% of the county's acreage, or 8,600 acres, as the allocation for solar use. Then the solar project proposals began to roll in. It seems that our counties are being targeted, okay? The first 5 projects alone involved a total of almost 22,000 acres. Oh. The first 5 alone. Again, it's like vultures coming into these rural areas. To make matters worse, the acreage involved was almost solely forested land and not degraded farmland or brownfield. Should Nottoway County choose to permit solar development, I think it is critical that the amount and type of land to be allowed for development be restrictive, clearly defined, and set in stone. Brunswick changed the way it defined the allocation, which has now cleared the way for massive development. They voted for 8,600 under panel, which is preposterous, but anyhow. After implementing the Virginia Clean Energy Act, lawmakers were alarmed at the rate of forest destruction. To counter the negative impacts of destroying so much forest land, the Virginia legislature introduced and passed House Bill 206, which designates disturbing 50 acres of adjacent forest as imposing, quote, significant adverse impacts. The Virginia Department of Forestry stated that 1 acre of impervious area, which does include solar panels according to the DEQ, creates 27,000 gallons of discharge from a 1-inch rainstorm. Now, on the other hand, 1 acre of forest land allows only 750 gallons of stormwater runoff under those same conditions. In a letter to the editor published in the Brunswick Times-Gazette, the writer points out that the Grasshopper and Bluestone solar facilities in Mecklenburg County are responsible for dumping mud and silt into creeks, ultimately affecting Carr Lake. Coronal Solar Power Center in Essex County is a 174-acre facility that caused so much stormwater damage that it was fined $245,000. The Belcher Solar Project experienced massive stormwater runoff damage and was fined $50,000. The DEQ fined Energix over $90,000, mostly for runoff contaminating groundwater. These are serious violations, yet the companies blame the problems on unusual weather conditions and not faulty or inadequate practices. I will point out that recently Governor Youngkin has implemented some new policies on stormwater drainage and runoff. However, they have given the solar companies a grandfather clause to get out of it.
Wow.
So, destroying our forest land will have devastating impacts environmentally. Virginia Department of Forestry states that conserving forest land is critical for the health of our environment, the supply of forest products, and the overall quality of life. Forests provide important ecosystem services, ranging from aesthetics and wildlife habitat to soil stabilization, temperature control, and improved air and water quality. Trees are carbon sinks, which mean they remove pollutants from the atmosphere, resulting in improved air quality. 1 acre of trees in 1 year can offset the carbon output of driving a vehicle 26,000 miles, just 1 acre. And that same acre of trees provides oxygen for 18 people per day. According to the EPA, trees lower surface and air temperatures. According to the Virginia Department of Forestry, more than 50% of Virginia's freshwater sources originate from forests. They absorb rainfall, refill groundwater aquifers, slow and filter stormwater runoff, reduce floods, and maintain watershed stability and resilience. For residents with private wells, the destruction of forested areas in favor of solar power plants could have dire consequences. Essentially, it is imperative that our natural resources be preserved and protected. Astronaut Frank Gorman, in his testimony before Congress during the investigation of NASA's Apollo 1 disaster, stated that the cause of the accident was a failure of imagination. I interpret that to be a failure of foresight, not anticipating what could or would happen. In NASA's rush to succeed in the area of space exploration, it overlooked and didn't anticipate potential problems. As Nottoway investigates the feasibility of solar facilities in the county, I do hope that due diligence is given to not only the short-term implications, but the long-term as well. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Moore, that was very well spoken. Anybody want to have any questions, clarification? It's obvious for you to come to this county, you're very passionate about that, and you care about the forestry, the agriculture, and for Southside Virginia. So I truly appreciate you taking the time and coming this way. And if you want to live here, you just come on up here, okay?
I might have to, because they've got a power plant. I mean, this is just preposterous. They're proposing the Rocky Run project by Dominion right by my backyard, and it's 6,000 acres.
Wow.
It's scary, very scary.
Thank you for your passion. Appreciate you coming here.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, we have one more for the delegations of the public, Mr. Slugger Marzette. Mr. Marzette, thank you for coming, sir.
I came up here tonight, got to thinking, you folks decided to carry me to court after I told you my wife had a problem. Just to congratulate you on it. About a month after we got this summons, I heard a noise in the middle of the night. My wife of 56 years passed out on the floor with her head in the corner. I had to get an ambulance out to get her. Thank you. You did a good job, guys.
Anything, sir, we are under litigation. Is there anything else you want to say, sir?
Sir, you better watch what you say now. I'm here at a public forum.
Okay.
I'm right as long as I don't get indignant. I have every right.
I felt
I've
like
already
you,
been
I
to
felt
court
like,
and testified
sir,
over this.
I apologize, but for a minute there, I felt like you were getting indignant.
Right, now you've used up part of my time.
No,
No,
sir.
I
No,
never
sir.
get
The
indignant.
clock-
I don't even cuss.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
anyway, I have these questions. When these ambulances came, I got to thinking, I've spent $35,000 in this court case so far. And I said, you know what I could do? look at how much this would help the rescue squad and the fire department. So I come up here to offer y'all a deal. $500 each. Fire department, rescue squad. If y'all will send the Attorney General and ask these 8 questions, that'll cost me $8,000. And at the same time, I'd like for y'all to agree, since you're in disagreement, to pay this out of your pocket instead of using taxpayers' money to fight people like me, that I am right and I will win. This man that y'all are using, he's got a resume 9 miles long, how far all the counties he's worked for. You ought to question why in the world is this man still not working for those counties? That's because of price. So anyway, what I'd like to do, I'd like y'all to send these questions to the county Attorney General, and let's get an answer back here rather than spending this money. Can a county administrator designate or appoint a zoning administrator? That's one question. I say no. Y'all have allowed this to happen. Can a zoning administrator that has been designated or appointed by a county administrator legally approve subdivisions? The answer is no. This is my answers now. Can a zoning administrator that has been designated or appointed by a county administrator legally enforce zoning violations? No. My answer. Does the court have jurisdiction before a violation has been addressed by a zoning administrator or some other enforcement agent? The answer is no. I can't go to court, be pushed into court before I at least get a letter and be notified. That statute is 15.22311. Can a subdivision agent that has not been duly authorized by the governing body legally approve subdivisions? Statute 152-2254. My answer is no. Is there a statute of limitations on a subdivision that was illegally approved that will cause it to become legal in time, or does it remain illegal until it's corrected? The answer is there is no statute of limitation, therefore subdivision remains illegal. Can a building or zoning permits be granted on illegal subdivision lots? Virginia 15.22286A-8. The answer is no. Can the title on a lot with or without a home be legally transferred or sold if a subdivision lot was not legally approved? And the answer to that is no. 15.2-2254. So, this is where I'm at with this. The Attorney General will answer these questions free of charge. I'm telling you, you're operating illegal. It started in 1973. There has not been one subdivision that has been signed off by a person who legally had that right. That means banks can't loan money legally. You're in the middle of this right now. I know you don't want to talk about it, and we're not, well, I don't know. I could talk about it. But the Wells Fargo Bank is in the middle of this. And you know what's wrong with that? It's because when they loan money on a lot that was not approved legally, if insured by federal, FDIC, that brings the FBI into this picture. So now I'm telling you, I hope I don't ever have to come up here again. I was trying to work with you. It doesn't look like it wants to work out. But please, let's put this money to a use. Y'all match me. Here, I've signed it. You got a bailiff here. It's okay with me to bring this to you?
No, sir, it's not okay to bring it to me. Hand it over to Mr. Zodi, if you don't mind. And thank you, Mr. Marzette, for giving us your understanding of the Code of Virginia concerning zoning. I appreciate your opinion.
Yes, thank you for your smartness.
Thank you. All right. All right. With that said, we got to go to a public hearing now concerning a budget adjustment, Piedmont Alternative School. Mr. Costin, would you introduce this, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, be happy to. Just so folks know, Ms. Tomer's under the weather, so I'll be carrying this item this evening. Last month, we sought and you gave permission to move to a public hearing. This is resulting from the fact that the fiduciary agent for the Piedmont Alternative School the Amelia Nottoway Technical Center has moved over to the Nottoway County Public Schools. This is simply a matter of moving a fund from one account to another account. The appropriation amount that's involved is more than 1% of the adopted fiscal year 23 budget. Therefore, this public hearing is needed. The revenue amount is $567,091. The expense amount is the same, $567,091. The expenses are tied to salaries, benefits related to salaries, technology replacement, and technology purchase, as well as materials and supplies. The third page in your packet under this item has those details for you. Again, this is an advertised public hearing, and for Ms. Heather Meyer is with us this evening if you need additional information from the school perspective.
All right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Mr. Costin, I entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move to open the public hearing.
I got a motion to open the
Second.
All right, got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same signs. We are now into the public hearing. There is no sign-up sheet. I mean, there's nobody written on the sign-up sheet, but if somebody wants to speak at the podium, whether against it or for it, I welcome you even though you didn't make it. That's good. That's good news. All right. I entertain now a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
All right, got a motion by Ms. Simmons and will you do a second then, Ms.
Second.
Shuckton? And any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, you heard the as far as it sounds like Mr. Costin is just the thing of just moving money.
One fund to another fund. Right. Yes, sir.
Anybody got any questions they want to ask Heather? By the way, and I know we got to get to business. Ms. Meyer, you don't have to say anything, but I heard that your family was in an accident, and by God's grace, they're doing okay. Are they okay? That is correct. Okay. Was it your husband and child, right? My husband, my mother-in-law, and my son. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, that's not good. I'm sorry to come out right. They're good that they're okay. But anyway, thank you. All right. I'm entertaining a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the budget adjustment appropriating the Piedmont Alternative School funding.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Mr. Rourke and a proper second from Ms. Simmons. Any further discussion? Hearing none from the board. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Going to departmental.
One presentation.
Yes,
added?
you did for introducing the building official.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So we have sought and procured, found a new building official. Let folks know that the advertisements went out for the position. Interviews were held. Because of his background as facilities director, I asked Chairman Bowen if he would sit in on those interviews along with our interim building official, Mr. Mike Velicky. He's a gentleman that I worked with in Greensville for many years, and as well as Logan Presley. The end result of that was the hiring of Nicholas Bowles. Nicholas, would you step up, please? Nicholas is a resident of Dundas, Virginia. He grew up right down the road from me in Mechanicsville, and we kind of knew some of the same area, but I think there were a few years difference in our time in the area. This is a good applicant, and I'll tell you why. He is presently serving as the building official for Farmville, and he has served as a building official, building inspector in Henrico County, my native county. And one of the things that really impressed me was one of the references came back and said he is very personable out in the field and can work with people and works towards compliance. So we're very, very happy with that. But he's also worked in the private sector. He's worked as for the Virginia Barn Company, Lisa and Company, as well as a custom builder in the Richmond area. So he knows the private side as well. He does have his, he has a certificate in carpentry from the Richmond Technical Center. He has also achieved his certification as a residential inspector, and he is very close on receiving his other certifications for commercial and the like. And I'd like to introduce to you Nicholas Bowles.
Mr. Bowles, would you like to say anything? I mean, the position, and by the way, him and I probably got off to a bad start. When I interviewed him, I asked him, I said, "Is Dundas a place?" You know, and he said, "Yes, it is." But that position is tough. You have to hold people accountable by code, and we want economic development and people to build houses and live here in Nottoway County. So it's not an easy position. We had some great candidates, and it was a hard decision. But I do welcome you to Nottoway County. Anyway, anybody want to say anything? All right.
Welcome, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you.
You're putting your speech away then, right? Okay. All right, thank you.
He will be starting May 1st.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Welcome,
Thank you.
Welcome, Nottoway.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I almost skipped that presentation. Excuse me, Mr. Costa. All right, going to department reports of Virginia Department of Transportation. Ms. Bryant, I see you over there. How you doing? If you don't mind coming up to the podium.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Costin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to update you on a few things that's over and above the report that you have in your packet. I know the thing that's on everybody's mind, the Route 46 bridge.
Yeah.
We just sent out a traffic alert that the bridge would be closing tomorrow. This is due to a recent bridge inspection. We're still working. The contractor is still having issues with supplies, so this closure doesn't have anything to do with the construction of the bridge. So they're still discussing and seeing when the construction may start, and if that's going to be a longer period of time, they may go ahead and do the structural repair and reopen the bridge. But all of that is still under discussion with the supplies and everything. So there's no resolution there just yet. So the minute that I hear anything, I'll share it with the county, and I'm sure Public Affairs will also put out a notification. But I did want to let you know that tomorrow that bridge will be closing, and we urge the motorists to use the posted detour. We will also be closing Route 619 Tyler Road starting on May 1st. We plan on putting some message boards out there. That'll be closed for about a month, weather permitting. It'll be closed right there where the pipe structure is over Deep Creek. We've got to do some work to that pipe, and there's no room there for anything on the shoulder, so that there's no other option except for to close that road. The Route 611 Little Creek Road, the silt removal that we have to do out there, we're expecting that to happen sometime in June, but I don't have a set date for that yet, but I just want to keep that on your radar because that is coming up. We are planning on starting mowing within the next couple of weeks, so be looking for that.
Gotcha.
I know people will be happy that'll be starting up. The 6-year plan public hearing we're supposed to be having next month on the 18th. The courthouse road study, all of the signs that were recommended in that study have been installed. So hopefully that helps that area some. And the last thing I wanted to bring to the board's attention is the Custis Street extension that we recommended the board add to the plan. When we started the process that we discussed about abandoning the part that's behind the locked fence, there seems to be some confusion as to whether that road is or is not in the state system. The files that we have show that it is. It appears that there may have been a discontinuance that happened. So we are diligently researching that. And I want to make sure that we come up with the right solution. And we don't want to add a road that was discontinued by the county. Initially, that road was added in 1955, and it seems that it was discontinued in the 70s. We have no documentation in our files for that. The central office is assisting with research. So as soon as we get documentation, we will provide that to the county. So I just wanted to let you know that that had come up, and that may pose an issue. So that is all of the additional information that I had for you. Do you have any questions or any issues or anything you'd like to bring to my attention?
Any questions?
I do have
Yeah,
one.
go ahead. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask a question about the elephant in the room. Is the dam safe?
Is the dam safe?
Yes. Is the issues at 46, does it have any structural issues with the dam?
It's the structure and bridge that closed to do bridge. I don't know what the conditions were that caused that closure, but they're looking at possibly just going ahead and repairing that and maybe reopen it, depending, like I said earlier, on the construction date.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I don't know what the reason was or what initiated that closure.
There were some questions posed, and I didn't have the answer, so I'm just asking. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no mention of the dam, so.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Bryant? All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting some of those mediums cut up with the grass getting a little tall. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Ms. Bryant. All right. Going down the list, because we had building inspection, we just introduced the gentleman. Animal control. Anybody here for that? Piedmont Health District. How about the Nottoway County Library, Public Library? Nottoway County School Board, anything you want to report back in, Ms. Meyer? Oh, did Dr. Grimes here?
Yeah.
Where? Oh, you sitting back with the Marine Corps. Come on up here, Dr. Grimes, you need to. Sorry about that. Thank you. Ms. Shackleton just kicked my leg so hard, I think I'm bleeding back here. Dr. Grimes, I'm sorry that I did not see you.
Please, no worries at all. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and community members. It is always a pleasure to stand before you and to share information about our school system. We are busy. We have been busy this year. I'm not going to go through everything that we've done. Instead, tonight, I'd like to highlight some partnerships that we have and then share just a few end-of-year activities that are going on. So the first partnership I'd really like to acknowledge and recognize is, as the school division is undergoing the revision of its strategic plan, which is the 6-year plan that governs how the school division will do the business that it does, we have called upon our community members in tremendous ways that require a tremendous amount of time and dedication, including the very beginning, which was asking members of the community to serve on our strategic plan team. That team met for 2.5 days to develop pretty much the entire outline of the strategic plan. And I'd like to acknowledge Mrs. Shackleton and Ms. Tomer, who both served on that strategic plan team, were there for the entire time that we worked, including on a Saturday for that work. And so it's greatly appreciated. During those strategic plan meetings, we developed our vision, we talked about our beliefs, we developed a list of beliefs, and I have to say also that the consensus amongst the group was just fantastic. There were no votes. It was we either agree or we don't agree, and where we did not agree, we talked it through until there was agreement. We also have a great number of community members who are not affiliated with the school system at all, as well as parents and school employees on that committee. Now we are working to develop action plans from the work of the Strategic Plan Committee, and those groups are busy as we speak. I'd also like to acknowledge the partnership with our Sheriff's Department. That is truly appreciated. You know, we have SROs in our school. But beyond the SROs who are in our schools, we can depend upon the sheriff and his deputies to come whenever it is that we need them, to participate in other activities that we have going on. For example, when we do our school safety walks, we're not required to do them as frequently as we do or to have all of the people on those committees that we do. However, we can always rely upon the sheriff to provide a deputy for that. We also can rely upon the sheriff to participate in our school safety forum. So the safety forum that we had just a few weeks ago, Deputy Sawyer did a presentation on hidden in plain sight, which was very helpful and informative. So that collaboration is super important and greatly appreciated. And the fact that he also, the sheriff, makes time to come to our quarterly administrative meetings with the school resource officers to talk through school safety matters is, again, of great value to us. And I can't say it enough, it's just deeply appreciated. And finally, some end-of-year activities. We are coming up on the end of the school year very quickly. June 8th, I believe, is the last day of school for students. And so as we wind down, we have lots of things going on. The fun things first, field trips, field days, prom is coming up, and then, of course, we have the end-of-year testing that's not so much fun, but absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
As we get ready for prom, this is the second year that we have had a drunk driving simulation at the complex on the field that sits between the transportation office and the baseball, softball fields. And that also, I cannot speak highly enough of our service providers here in Nottoway County. Yeah. It's not, we are not in a bubble. We can't do anything on our own. I have said that a number of times. Our partnership with the Board of Supervisors and with our county emergency workers and safety providers, public safety providers, we can't do anything, none of us, by ourselves. And for that simulation, we have the fire department present. The sheriff has representation there, emergency workers, rescue. It's just this whole multiple rows of people in uniform, including working to get the Mediflight helicopter in so that our students can see what it could look like if there truly were a drunk driving accident with injury. Our students see what it looks like to have the jaws of life, get someone out of the vehicle, and we did it this go around for, I believe it was the entire high school, 9th through 12th grade, but just invaluable. And all of that for the past 2 years has been the brainchild and the result of the hard work of one of our 12th grade students who also serves as the junior fire chief for the Blackstone Fire Department. And so again, none of us live in a bubble or could do anything by ourselves. But our school division is good because of the partnerships that we have within the community. And I wanted to take the time this evening to highlight those partnerships and to thank you for supporting the Sheriff's Department, our other public safety people who come in and work with us.
Well, thank you, Dr. Grimes. You wanted to say, I mean, you were on that strategic committee.
It was an excellent event. It was, and I really appreciated the opportunity. Learned a lot. You've got a lot of good things going, a lot of challenges that you're facing. But I also was pleased to meet your new, is it community outreach individual, and hear more about that program, and that sounds wonderful. And I hope you'll receive a lot of support throughout the county for that.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, Ms. Shackleton shared with me when she was on that committee that she says when you look at it at different lenses, you know, it's not easy on the other side with the school system and some of the challenges y'all are facing. So we appreciate that. We appreciate, Dr. Grimes, you coming up here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. Well, I'm not letting Ms. Shackleton kick me again, so I see that Ms. Shannon Reed, you're here. Do you mind? I'd like you to come up to the podium if you don't mind, anyway. The reason I want you to come to the podium, we did a lot of discussion about the department that you're running during our budget time. So one thing that we had talked about is, I know you had mentioned about getting a van, and so sometimes I speak out of turn, so I have to make sure you know, Mr. Carson will keep me straight up here for that. But anyway, so we were talking about going to a rental to try the rentals, you know, rent like a van, so then somebody could change the oil and and then when it gets so many miles, you could get another rental van. And we included that in the budget. So I have to be careful what I say because we talked to these were budget workshops, and we still have to hear from the public, you know, of what we're doing. But I think that was almost really close to a no-brainer. But what my question is that if we have it in the budget, Mr. Costin, can we go ahead and start renting? I mean, if she needs the van now, I suppose she don't have a van come July because the other one's, it's in bad shape, right?
Yes, we have a Crown Victoria that is in bad shape.
Oh, it's not even a van, it's a Crown Victoria, but you want a van.
Yes.
I mean, board members, can we have a free discussion about that? I mean, what do y'all think?
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification, it's lease for the
I
public.
keep saying rental, lease. Thank you. That's a very great point. Thank you for that, Mr. Rowland.
Yeah, but absolutely, we, on the Social Services Board, along with all the employees over there at Social Services, want to make sure that when one of those caseworkers go out, they can come back safely without being stranded on the side of the road. Right now, I wouldn't drive that vehicle.
Okay.
Okay, so, and the ask has been going on long enough, and whether it's money through the discretionary fund,
Or whatever for this, we could take money from discretionary fund and start renting this year.
and get them in a safe vehicle.
Vehicle. Why is it rent? It's killing me.
Leasing.
See, that's why they keep punching me over here. So leasing, do we need to take a formal action on that if we want to do that?
I'm willing to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with the lease action at this time with these budget, in this budget currently, whether it's through discretionary fund or general fund.
Ms. Reed, the reason why you need a van, could you explain that a little bit? I think you said you take children up the road, right?
We are in the business of removing children if the need indicates so.
Okay.
We've removed children from different homes. It could be places. It could be, we may pick some children up at a grocery store. And it could be one child. It could be 5 children.
Okay.
Last time we removed 5 children, we had to have 2 vehicles, and we only had 2 vehicles that were serviced. If we were to have another call, we had no other vehicles to use.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so then we need to do something. We
I will
can't-
second that, Steve.
All right, so we got a motion to go ahead and
I
start.
second that motion.
We just heard a motion from Mr. Rourke and Sherman
Yes,
seconded, thank you,
yes.
to get into to lease a van, Mr. Costin, and anyway, any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, may I just clarify, and I'm all in favor of ensuring that you have
No, that's
safe,
good, that's fine.
reliable transportation, but this will be I don't know the protocol as far as approving something for a budget that's under consideration, but we're talking about in this current fiscal year, and we have the funds to
Yeah,
proceed with that.
gotcha.
Okay.
And we'll have to, it's kind of like Mr. Abbott said, we got to balance the budget, okay? And if we have to take money out of discretionary to pay the leasing fee or whatever, we'll do what we have to do. But we cannot allow them not to have a vehicle. It's gone too far. And we wanted to try something to see, okay. You okay? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Don't go anywhere yet. I don't know, y'all got me on a roll up here. So we also, I know you had mentioned about some renovating into the, like you need more office space.
I do.
Do you have any funds in your budget that you can get this done before July 1st?
I do. I have 2 asks when it comes to renovating. I need wiring done, and I also have an estimate for that service. And also the acting,
Building official, the interim building official.
the interim, yes, he
take
gave
a
me an
look at it.
estimate as well, how much that would cost. So
Gotcha.
those are my 2 asks. I need the wiring done so we can have internet, phone lines, and
Well,
cables.
we don't really, I mean, if she's got the funding in her budget, we shouldn't have to take any action. Just let her just move on with that funding. Okay. Can somebody help her with that, Mr. Costa?
Well, yeah, again, Mr. Veliky had been over to kind of help design it out for her, and then the proposal that we received, I asked him to look at it. I think you sent that to me yesterday or the day before.
Probably the day before as a reminder.
Yeah, and he had it for review, so.
We understand, and we understand also that, I know the CSA works for the county administrator, but that has to go to public hearing. We have to, if we're gonna move a CSA to full-time, that's gonna have to go to public hearing. So,
The CSA
but,
position is supervised by Mr. Costin.
yeah, right, not you, okay. And I know we don't have one right now, is that right? Oh, a part-time person?
I have very part-time.
Very, very part-time. I've never heard that word, very part-time. That's like really, really part-time.
She is.
Okay, all right, all right. All right, well, bear with us on that one, because the public has got to hear that, know that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would it be out of order to go ahead and make a motion to go to public hearing next month? For the
Well, I think it's
CSA?
gonna be wrapped up in the budget. It's all in the budget.
it would be
budget
easier
pack.
to- yeah,
So,
it's in
so
the
the
budget pack.
goal is to have when Mr. Costin asked me about the clock today, and if we can come up with salaries and come up with, we're getting close. So the public know, we had a 3.5 hour work session on the budget. And we had to make a lot of cuts. But anyway, what the plan is, I would love to see, if we do public hearing in May, and we listen to the public and we go ahead and approve it, then we can start advertising for that position right away if we approve it.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I wanted to let you all know, and I had a brief conversation with Ms. Reed, or email exchange. I have had conversations with 2 different county administrators to try to wrap our heads around the possibility of doing something similar to what we had before, was a shared CSA coordinator. Everybody seems to do it a little bit differently.
That's not gonna work here.
And that's what I was going to say, Mr. Vort. Our caseload is so much higher than everybody else's that we're just going to have to bite the bullet and go to a full-time position.
Okay.
I mean, when you hear stories about 5 kids being picked up at one time,
Yes.
that's the type of caseload that, can jump up real quick.
Ms. Reed, thank you for all that you do.
Mr. Bowen, may I ask if you want me to use my funds for the office space?
Uh-huh.
Since that's not my building, will I be
I
refunded?
was getting ready to ask that question.
Because we rent the building.
That's our building. They're paying over $3,000.
You're a tough businesswoman.
Yes, sir.
But, some people rent and make improvements as they go along. I mean, there's people out there that do that.
We're not those people.
You're not doing that. All right, can we look at it in our discretionary fund and see if we can do that?
Also,
And you hang on to your money.
I do.
Okay, okay, you can go now.
Thank you all.
I thought she got me, good. All right, thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't even know why I invited her up there. I shouldn't have. But anyway, she's a good businesswoman. All right, hopefully Mr. Buddy Hyde won't be as bad on me. Mr. Hyde, Emergency Services, sir.
I'll try not to be. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Costin, staff, citizens, good evening. As always, our notes are in your packet, and also there's an agenda page from the Fire and EMS leadership meeting that we have every month. So I always try to include that in the packet as well. If you have any questions on any of the bullet points in my, please do ask. I would like to highlight a couple things tonight, maybe 2 or 3. One is, we're currently working on 7 grants in different varying stages. We're closing out at 3. We have the largest grant is the $1 million grant that we're working on for the communication system. And that's, pretty much our money to receive. We just have to do the paperwork. So there is quite a bit of paperwork. We're through round 1 last week. Actually, while the budget workshop was going on, we were working on that behind the scenes. And then this week, it's another justice grants protocol, a portal that we have to go into. So as soon as we get in these federal portals and close out, we'll be good with that. The 3 new grants that are coming up are some that we put in for last October, but because VDM ran out of money in the actual pot of money that was available, they have now put that grant back up and allowed us to take our applications. And I'll just briefly tell you what they were. They're really good projects. One is we're in partnership with the towns to put tornado sirens countywide, to where every town has a tornado siren. Also put one by Nottoway High School, which would also alert the courthouse here when we have a populated day and hundreds of people on the complex. And then we're also looking at right around the Piedmont, geriatric, and VCBR and Nottoway Correctional Center being the 3 state facilities. We know how much population are there. So, Mr. Bowen, I do want to talk with you sometime about that area and see what we can do in partnership with those facilities out there to do a tornado siren, which would also double as other notification systems. And so we're getting new quotes from what we had in October. Like I said, we've done this once, but now they have put, I think they said $12 million into the grant fund. So that's how much we have to work with, and we're competing with everyone else in the state, but we're looking favorable. The other two were the generator for the EOC, which is a full building generator, which we feel very highly about. We know that from the ice storm. And then the third one is to put hurricane shutters on the EOC windows and also on dispatch windows, so that if we have high winds, that those critical facilities will be protected. So those are the grants. That's an overview there. Also wanted to let you know that I've drafted a derailment response protocol, and we call it an annex that goes in our emergency operations plan for the county. So we feel certain that, after the East Palestine, Ohio incident and others, that we need an annex, or it's really like a section of the EOP. So we have that now being reviewed by Norfolk Southern. I sent it out this week. It's a 4-pager, and it's in draft, and it'll probably take a month or so to polish it, but we'll have it ready to put into the EOP, and we're also having it reviewed by the fire chiefs. So they've been a part of it, a critical part of it with me during our monthly meeting. And Mr. Costin wanted me to give you a quick overview. It's time to just let you know where we are with the radio system. So currently the proposals are being written by the vendors, and they are due on May 31. That's the deadline to have RFP, the proposals to come back. We are looking at, and just for your notes, we're looking at an evaluation being complete in July of this year. And then after July, we'll bring those results to you and have a recommendations report in August of this year. And if the recommendations look good to you and everything is rolling along, and these grant funds are coming in for us, we're looking at hopefully signing a contract with the vendor of choice based on the proposals that we're reading in September of this year. So this is all on track with what our engineering firm has set out for us. They've done an excellent job. They're still helping us weekly. They're also helping us with the grants. We're also finding another grant that's available coming out in a couple months called the State Homeland Security Grant, which we believe that if we're successful with that grant, that they'll help us build, that we can pay for the services that they are giving us now as an engineering firm. And that might actually cancel that out, and that way we're just paying for the actual system. So we're hoping we'll put a grant in for that. And then the implementation phase, just really quick, from October of 23 to September of 25. So you're looking at about a 2-year implementation window. And that's the larger part, and of course that's going to go over a couple budget years, as we've talked about. And we're looking at a project closeout of September 25. And then, of course, there's some testing out of different things like microwave dishes and things of that nature. Very technical. I won't get into the technical part, but the testing is the last thing we do, obviously. Just like our neighbors are doing now. Lunenburg is in testing now, so is Amelia. So it's at the end of that. They're that much far ahead of us, but we're right behind them. So we're looking at that 2-year window. And if there's any questions on any of this, I'll be glad to answer.
All right, any questions, Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
As always, we appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you for your report too, sir. Stay safe out there. All right, Mr. Zodi, Planning and Economic Development.
Good evening. I really have not a lot to comment on. I think the biggest thing would be what happened at our Planning Commission meeting the other night. I had the meeting and we discussed some solar issues that Commonwealth Regional Council presented to us, some options in the language. And the discussion came up about perhaps if the board were to choose to move toward having a solar ordinance, is that we put a cap on that and identify that, limit the capacity of megawatts allowed in the county in proportion to the amount of energy we use. And I believe I have that right.
Right.
Feel free to correct me, sir. But that would just be in the language. It's not going to be in an ordinance. It's not going to be in an ordinance until we adopt a solar ordinance. Okay. So this is just language. And I think we're at the point now, since there was basically all agreement from the members that were there, that we're ready to move on. We've read the public comments and discussed the public comments. We've also had some discussions about just the general comp plan. And there really wasn't a lot of suggested changes, if any, but I think the biggest one is just saying, yeah, if we go with solar, the board decides to move forward with solar, then we match we allow a certain amount of megawatts into the county based on our existing energy uses from the electric companies.
Right.
And if I would go so far as to say, well, when the county grows, then the demand for solar should proportionately increase as well, and still maintain what the county consumes. All 3 towns in the county, the unincorporated areas.
Yeah. Did y'all kind of understand that? I mean, so anyway, so looking at the clock, you think we can get the comprehensive plan on the agenda in May to approve?
Yeah.
If the planning commission makes a recommendation.
That's correct.
On Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
Before Thursday meeting, we can certainly put it on the agenda.
And it'll be a public hearing, right?
But it would be dependent upon,
Dependent.
you've already had your public hearing. Unless
You're
you want,
right.
unless
You're
you want
right.
to go
You're
to
right.
we did
You're
the
right,
joint.
'cause the only change we made is from listening to the public. Okay.
You did a joint.
Did a joint, yeah, gotcha, okay.
If the board feels like there's enough substantial change between the draft and the planning commission's recommended version, you can have a second, but you have had
I don't think it's
one.
that much difference.
Most of the focus has been on the solar.
Yeah, so it's just just by we made one sentence, right?
Yes, sir.
That's right, okay. And it was from listening to the public.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Good report, thank you. All right, following the agenda, constitutional officers' reports and comments. Ms. Brown, is she here? Mr. Sheriff Jones? Thank you, Sheriff. Ellen Meyer, our treasurer. Ms. Christy Hudson, Commissioner of Revenue, and Leanne Walters, Commonwealth's attorney. Some about them lawyers just love to come to that podium, don't they? I'm kidding. Yeah, you back on. Thank you, Ms. Walters, for coming.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Good evening.
members of the board, and Mr. Costin. You'll see in the data the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office provided for your board packets this month that the percentage of felony versus misdemeanor files opened by the office in the month of May differs from previous months. This is largely because we made the difficult decision in February to start slowly reducing involvement in misdemeanor cases due to the overall workload of the office. The decision was not made lightly, but rather out of necessity. There simply are not enough hours in the day at this point. Over the past several years, numerous changes at the national, state, and local levels have impacted the workload of prosecutors. At all levels of government, we have seen an increase in community involvement in government, as well as involvement in and surrounding criminal justice reform. The criminal justice system in Virginia saw more significant changes in the past few years than it had in decades before. These changes have resulted in an increased workload even here in Nottoway County. Laws in Virginia have changed at every level of the criminal justice process and every part of the process. From when police officers can stop a vehicle, to when they can search the vehicle, to bond presumptions when someone's arrested. Discovery rules have changed in recent years. The amount of evidence to review and provide in discovery and redact in discovery has grown as a result of technology, body-worn cameras, and citizen videos. A significant change we saw in Virginia was the elimination of automatic jury recommendations for sentencing, which has resulted in a drastic increase in the number of jury trial requests. In 2018, Nottoway County had 18 jury trials scheduled. Last year in 2022, we had 38. A jury trial takes more court time, more preparation, more witnesses, more people, and more community involvement than a bench trial. To put it bluntly, it takes more work for almost everybody involved. The changes in Virginia's criminal justice law don't stop after trial or conviction. After a conviction, the amount of time required to be served for some felony convictions has been reduced due to an increase in good behavior credit. On some felonies, people who've been convicted of felonies can serve as little as 65% of the active sentence given to them by the circuit court. Results in, ultimately, shorter prison sentences. We've also seen a reduction in the possible or permissible sentence range for convictions on certain types of probation violations. Many of these changes have increased the workload. Nottoway County has seen and recognized that when it comes to traditional law enforcement. According to numbers provided by the Sheriff's Office, there have been 5 additional deputy positions funded by the county and through grants since fiscal year 2020. County leadership and the Sheriff's Office saw the need for the additional deputies, and they met that need. However, that increased workload and need does not stop at the door of the Sheriff's Office. More deputies mean more cases, mean more work for the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. Since the fall, I've provided data to this board demonstrating the need for additional staffing. The need is not going to go away. If you look at the data in your packet this month, you'll see that the total number of files opened in March was higher than February, higher than January, even though we've not been able to be involved in all of the misdemeanor cases. So not getting involved in all of the cases, our numbers are still going up. I spoke with a citizen this week, and they wanted to know why the office wasn't going to be involved in their case. They said it's not fair. And they're right. It's not fair. But unfortunately, I cannot create more hours in a day, and at some point, the employees in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office have to sleep. When you begin a day with 9 hours of work to do, and then 4 hours of work or more pop up during the day, what do you do? What do you do when it's day in and day out? The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office is at that breaking point. The citizens deserve to have someone present their criminal cases in court, but it can't be done without the staff and the funding. It's no secret that the need for thorough and adequate representation by an attorney in legal matters has been recognized by the board when it comes to matters handled by the county attorney. The county has willingly utilized the county attorney as needed. I took a look at that cost. From a review of February's legal bills from the county attorney, I deducted that the county is paying 3 different levels of rates depending on the attorney. That's not unusual. $385, $355, and $325 an hour. I did a comparison, which is what the board is looking at now. If the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office was funded at an hourly rate equivalent to that of the county attorney's rates, taking out, to be fair, non-working hours, all the leave someone accumulates or accrues in a year, all the holidays, and assuming a 40-hour standard work week, which has not been the standard in the office, the budget for the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office would be $2,224,610. The office has requested $588,478. I did another comparison. By taking the budget for the office and dividing by the number of attorney working hours in a year, adding up those hours I mentioned before, taking out leave, taking out holidays, assuming a 40-hour work week, which would be wonderful. Not realistic, but wonderful. What would the cost per attorney hour in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office be? For this fiscal year, $89.95. For next fiscal year, if the board provides the necessary funding for the office to serve the citizens of Nottoway County in felony and misdemeanor cases, $92.50. For next year without that necessary funding, which would provide the 2 additional positions and reallocate the 1 position, $93.58. Cost per attorney hour is a better return with the additional positions. Cost per attorney hour with the funding the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office needs is less than 1/3 of that which the county pays the county attorney per hour to represent the county in other legal proceedings. Are the safety, lives, and property of Nottoway citizens not more important than the county's civil litigation? I think the citizens of Nottoway County deserve an adequately staffed and funded Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and I'm asking this board to stand up for the safety of our citizens by fully supporting the office's budget request. I thank you.
Hold up, we're gonna have an honest discussion. Anybody got to say something first? You want me to start out? Let me say this to you, and I see what you're saying. You know, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have a county attorney, but it seems like everybody keeps taking me to court, okay?
It's nice to have a lawyer in court.
Right, and it's nice to have a lawyer in court.
Citizens
But,
would like it
but
too.
let's clarify something. The state of Virginia goes by Virginia State Code, okay? And the Virginia State Code they got the Dillon Rule. The Dillon Rule is we're creatures of the state. The state makes laws, okay, they make laws, and then they expect the sheriff to go out there and get the bad people, and then you have to try to take them to court, okay. But they have a thing called a comp board who says this many people, the state has a thing that says a comp board. This many, if you got this much population, then you get this many attorneys, and they fund it because they make the laws, okay. But what you did here, in my opinion, you're putting that on my back.
Only the misdemeanors. The comp board looks at the felonies. Commonwealth's attorneys are not funded to prosecute misdemeanors. They're funded based off of felonies. That's what I'm saying.
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
How many attorneys are in your office right now?
I have 2 full-time and 1 part-time. The part-time is 24 hours a week, which is where I've reached the conclusion of 2.6 attorneys.
Do Commonwealth attorneys in other locales not handle misdemeanors?
Most of them handle most misdemeanors. Some have reached this issue over time. That's kind of come and gone. Many other localities fund additional spots beyond the comp board.
How many, Mr. Constant, do you know how many of the positions in this office are funded by the comp board?
I believe it's 1.5.
So it's technically 2. My entire salary is comp board funded. My senior assistant's salary, about, I'm not good at math in my head, maybe 60 to 70% is comp board funded.
And the county funds the other positions?
And the county funds the part-time and the other part of his, and the comp board funds the majority of the admin's current salary.
How does Big Brother, the state, come up with that number?
They look at felony sentencing, or felony charges in circuit court and felony sentencing events in circuit court. I will say that I anticipate that number changing. It has been within less than the past year that our circuit court realized that the way that they were doing case numbers, particularly on probation violations, was not consistent with other places. Let's say someone had 5 felony convictions. They violated probation. Other places were issuing 5 case numbers. Nottoway was issuing 1. They have changed that, so I expect that to change our numbers with the state. However, at this point, we haven't gotten to that point.
May I ask another
Yeah,
question?
yes, ma'am.
And the county, was it this current fiscal year or last fiscal year that we approved funding of additional full-time attorney?
No. That was fiscal year, that went from 19 to 20. So fiscal year 20, the county, there was a state mandate to try and take over the body-worn camera load, the extra workload from body-worn cameras. So the state says you need 1 attorney for every up to 75, or not the state, excuse me, that was the level they set. There's studies on different numbers, but 1 attorney for every up to 75 body-worn camera positions. In theory, that would say you need your 2.6 plus 1.
Anybody else got any questions? Mr. Roy?
Yeah, Ms. Watson, I believe the original request was like $110,000 or $115,000.
That's when we were looking at just the salaries, once we did the whole request, and I had to do the percentages on the position request form. It came up to that 157, 159 total.
That's what the state has changed, and I mean, you know, this is my anniversary. I've been there for 35 years. They have this thing now called, in other words, the department head does not say, they don't say, I think this person ought to make this person ought to make this, and this. They done taken that, completed the formula. They have a thing called RI, it's relevant years of experience, and if you don't have that relevant years of experience, you make less money than the next person, and that's just the way it is. And it's like if she takes a person and promotes them, they'll get an increase, but in that new position, they may be making less than others in that same level because that's a new position to them. The relevant years experience is 0 because they went to another level. So that's what the state's doing. But so what I think we got our culture going on here is we say, well, this person's been here for 20 years, so let's give this person an increase. I'm not saying she's doing that, but that is a culture that I see. Okay.
To be clear, I am not doing that.
Okay, yeah, I just want the public to know that's a problem, anyway.
Are there any other questions I can answer for the board?
No, we have another budget meeting. Thank you, Ms. Walters, for your report. We have another budget meeting. May 1, and that subject will be on the tables, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. All right. And just so everybody knows, we do care about public safety, and I think we try to do the best we can for the revenue that we get. So I just want everybody to know that. All right. Let's flip over and go to something else. Unfinished business, appointment, recommendation for BZA. Mr. Costin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have in your packet just the list of the Board of Zoning Appeals members and their term expires. We have a resignation back in February that's an open seat. The position was held by someone in District 3. You'll notice that the districts are a little bit out of alignment resulting from the redistricting this past year. So I'll leave it to the board's discretion to make a recommendation of someone to serve on the BZA for 5 years. That recommendation would go to the circuit court, who actually makes the appointment.
I think we were looking at District 3. Is that right?
That's my district.
That's where the resignation came from. Yeah. Yes, sir.
But we also don't have anyone for District 4.
That's because the way the redistricting lines moved around. Yes, ma'am.
You still having trouble finding somebody?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna go into the new area of, since the redistricting, and see if I can find someone.
Mr. Chairman, we can carry this over.
Yeah, we're going to, maybe Mr. Costin, if they're not trying to, just might as well go ahead and increase the load there, but put another, put a reminder to all of us on email, and maybe we can all, in our own way, separate ways, try to figure out something. So, but just if you would put a reminder,
okay,
and we can try to help in any way we can. Because I think that's been on there for a couple of months.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion?
I'd love to hear one, Mon.
Would you like to do an open solicitation, advertise for anyone who's interested, ideally serving in Election District 3? Or would you?
That's something different.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Do you have criteria for selection?
We could just.
That's a good question.
Well, your criteria is spelled out in state law as far as what the person has to meet.
Would you let me see who the people are that apply?
That respond? Yeah, we'd be
Yes,
happy to.
please.
Yeah, certainly. The whole, give it to the whole board. You just, it's basically are you interested in serving in this capacity? If so, contact our office. Yeah, be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Costin. Number 2 for the unfinished business, ARPA funding distribution.
Yes, sir. In one of your work sessions, you've talked about making some commitments to ARPA. We just simply need to take formal action on those. You're looking, as reflected in the suggested motion, to convey ARPA funds to $45,250 to the town of Burkeville for utility engineering costs, and $50,000 to the town of Blackstone to support enhancements to its recreational complex. I would like to let the board know that yesterday I received a legislative alert from NACO that there was an attempt inside the United States Senate to claw back any uncommitted ARPA funds. I immediately contacted Senator Warner's office. That's the only one I have a contact on, and expressed our displeasure with that proposal. That we were already committing funds. We had plans for other commitments. I'm not trying to have the board take any action this evening that you haven't already discussed, but we might want to pick up the pace on this. We don't know where that might go. And I have reached out to ask what the status is today, but I haven't heard anything back.
Okay.
But you do have I think this motion reflects what you all have discussed at your work sessions for expending some of your ARPA funds.
Yeah, board, speak up, anybody, but the Burkeville utility line extension, that is not the responsibility of the town of Burkeville, and it's not the responsibility of the CARES group. That is our responsibility. Okay, and then the recreation complex for Blackstone, we've heard them, with that, and they have a great complex up there, and of course I know the contract with broadband. That's a no-brainer. We already got it in contract. So.
Mr. Chairman, I move that staff be directed to convey from the ARPA funds available to the county of Nottoway $45,250 to the town of Burkeville for utility engineering costs and $50,000 to the town of Blackstone to support enhancement to its recreational complex.
Second.
All right, I got a motion. We got a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roy. Thank you for the second. All right. Going down, so we've taken out number 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 4, authorization to proceed to bid with animal shelter.
You have, my memo indicates that the plans were pending. You received those plans under separate cover Wednesday morning. I received them during the Planning Commission meeting and got them out as soon as I could the next morning. Mr. Phillips is here. And,
I'm sorry, Ms. Phillips. Good seeing you.
Would be, we'll carry this item. You have a suggested motion, which basically is simply to put it out to bid, see what we get.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and Mr. Costin. It's been a while since we've been together, but much has been accomplished, and as Mr. Costin has shared with you, we've reached a major milestone in a project that has been under development for quite some time. To give you just a quick update on where we have been since last presenting to you, the drawings are indeed 100% complete and ready for bid advertisement. And leading up to that, the design team has met with the state veterinarian's office, allowed them to review the plans as a courtesy. They do not approve plans, that they're not an authority that approves plans. However, it is certainly a good thing to do to allow them to view them, provide comment, because once the building is built, they have the authority to indicate any shortcomings and write you up, which is one of the main reasons we're doing this project to begin with. So we contacted the state vet's office. They have reviewed the drawings, provided comments, and the design team responded with revisions to those drawings to satisfy the state vet. And that office has given their blessing upon the plans and are excited to see it come to life. So good news there is that was certainly one of the major criteria of proceeding with the project. Also, the stormwater management site permitting plans have been submitted to the Department of Environmental Quality for their review. That is a lengthy process, and those were submitted ahead of the completion of the building plans themselves. So DEQ received those drawings initially on March the 10th. They responded as they normally do within about a week with their cursory review of completeness, in which they indicate what is still needed for review. We responded and resubmitted those on the 16th, and they have responded back to us on March 23rd that they indeed have everything they need. So that clock started in March, towards the end of March, roughly a month ago. That process is lengthy, as I have stated, and they are an agency that does use every available day they can. So we are anxiously waiting on their review comments. We also, in this time, have coordinated with the town of Burkeville and the utility line extension project that they are conducting with their independent engineering firm. Our civil engineers have coordinated with them regarding the coordination of our project with the utility line extensions. So that communication has happened as well. And then we also have, I understand, a preliminary review has been conducted by your interim building official, and I believe Mr. Costin, if that's right, in which we received good remarks back from his review as well. And then finally, as of earlier this week, the drawings have been sealed by all the design professionals, and the bid advertisement has been written. And so we're here tonight to say the project is ready to go on for public advertisement. That period will last 30 days, as is customary for a project of this size. The bids are slated to be open and read aloud if the bid advertisement is published on Monday, the 24th, which is the preliminary date, should you approve to move forward tonight. The bids will be active for 30 days and then opened at the end of May publicly and read aloud. Those bids are to remain good, valid for 60 days beyond that date, which would give this board, your design team, and all the stakeholders time to review the bids, ensure that the project is in compliance and within budget. At which time, before that day 60, you would execute a contract, should the project be in alignment with your goals and objectives. So I'm pleased to provide that report tonight, and it's been a privilege to get you to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. You got any questions? I am not going to do anything to slow this project up because I probably won't make the next meeting. Okay, I would disappear somewhere. Okay. But a person had asked me, a contractor, not a contractor not bidding on the project. It's not in, but he did ask me. He said, Steve, with the design that they have, could you welcome if somebody wanted to had metal? I mean, I know you think there's no way you're gonna get metal, but let's pretend Chris Phillips could be wrong. Okay.
It happens.
Right, it happens, and it happens to Steve Bowen too. Is the building designed where you could be either wood or metal? And let me tell you why I'm asking, Chris. Sure. Let's pretend the metal was only 50,000 more, and we thought, man, that would last longer. And it might be worth, but anyway.
And just for a point of clarification, do you mean metal building studs or a metal structural frame?
I think the conversation we had was more like a metal frame per se.
A pre-engineered metal building frame. Yeah. It's certainly, so the building itself, just by nature of its function, is a very complex.
I got you, I know.
We've been through that. However, the footprint is sort of accommodating.
Okay.
And so the short answer is certainly if it behooves the board and your apparent low bidder on bid day to evaluate the use of a metal building structure in lieu of what is designed now, then that's certainly something that is feasible.
I don't want to. I mean, I feel like the train has left the station. I'm slowing. And I'm still packing my bags.
No, you're not.
Okay.
No, you're not missing anything. You actually, it's just a simple discussion.
Right.
With that, I mean, you're talking about brick or vinyl compared to metal outside.
Yeah, I want the building to last, and also want it to look good.
Right.
So.
Well, the appearance of the building that you have now, it is designed in such a way, should it be a pre-engineered metal building frame, that same exterior can be applied to that frame. What you're talking about is really the skeleton of the building, as I understand it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Phillips and I have had a couple of conversations and expand on this, that when we sit down with that most responsive and apparent low bidder, we can start opening up a conversation to say, do you see something here where we can not cut corners, but cut cost and still have what we want?
I hear you. All right.
How we like to term that is value added.
Right.
Right. And on bid day, we hope for a really good response, and I think you'll see a good response.
And I know a lot of people says, well, why are you worried about getting because different counties, their animal shelter is in different locations. But our animal shelter is where, and I've seen the traffic study, 15 to 18,000 vehicles a day. So it's going to be viewed. It's not going to be, unless we put a lot of trees up. But anyway.
Well, Steve, the day they had that cord out there, you kept running across it.
Yeah, I know. All right.
I think to your point, Mr. Bowman, one of the objectives of the design of any shelter, and was embraced by this county and board and the CARES group, is the ultimate goal of increasing adoption, right? You're not building.
That's right.
You're not building a shelter to hotel and house animals.
That's right.
You're building a shelter to increase adoption,
That's
and
right.
you do that through increased visitation, and you get more visitation when you have more visibility.
Okay. Board, I'm entertaining a motion. Somebody wants to put it on the floor.
Can I ask one
Oh,
question
yes,
first?
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Phillips, we don't have to worry about proceeding with the bid process before the completion of the DEQ.
No, you can proceed. What you cannot do is move earth until DEQ has approved and permitted the project. You're in a period now, if you have 30 days of active bidding and then 60 days that those bids must remain active, you still have a 90-day period here, plus the 30 days that DEQ has already had. Again, they are a government agency that does typically use all their allotted time, and they are very busy, and also, like many agencies, very shorthanded. So it's not within the control of this board or this design team or the citizens of the county. We just have to wait and be patient for their comments. However, you can proceed with bidding and see what your bid day results are, and then you have another 60 days that those remain active.
Okay. Good question. Thank you, Ms. Shelkins. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the county administrator, in coordination with RRMM, the county's retained architect for the proposed animal shelter, proceed to solicit for, receive, and review bids received for the construction of an animal shelter and initiate negotiations with the lowest and most responsive bidder.
Second. All right, you hear the motion and got a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Everybody okay? All right, hearing none. All approved, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, that's a 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Phil. Thank you for coming up here. Appreciate it.
Safe travels back.
Yes, sir. All right, reappointment to the Planning Commission, Mr. Costin.
Yes, ma'am. You've had, in the process of kind of reformatting some of the Planning Commission numbers, one slipped by us. We have a pending appointment for, and she is interested in being reappointed, Ms. Chandra Lewis, Election District 3. She is tied into as part of our school community, and she's been very, very good with her attendance throughout all these work sessions with the comp plan and everything else. And staff would recommend that Ms. Chandra Lewis, a resident of Election District 3, be reappointed to the Planning Commission for standard 4-year term.
I move that Ms. Chandra Lewis, a resident elected District 3 in Nottoway County, be reappointed to the Nottoway County Planning Commission for the standard 4-year term.
Second that motion.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Simmons, got a proper second from Mr. Vaughn. Any further discussion? And my discussion is, I agree wholeheartedly, a very good active member of the Planning Commission. But we have all good members. They're doing a good job. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. New business. We got an award to health benefits broker consultant services. Ted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You'll recall prior to my arrival, you retained a company. That company failed to perform, and they were no longer of service to us, and that contract was terminated. We still need to fill that gap. We solicited for and received 5 proposals in response to a request for proposal. We conducted interviews with 2 of those firms, and those participating in the interview were myself, Ms. Logan Presley, the Human Resources Coordinator, and Supervisor Simmons, because of her expertise in the area of pharmaceutical processing benefits, medical payments. Both firms demonstrated that they were up to the task. However, we are recommending One Digital, and that is primarily because they will receive their compensation via commission regardless of who they bring to us, while the other company had the possibility of charging us $17,000. It really depended on who they brought to us. So we would like to proceed with award the contract to One Digital, and you have a suggested motion there. Be happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am. Proceed, please.
So In the past, have we ever utilized the services of a benefits brokerage firm, or we just,
We did.
we did?
We did.
We did.
You all retained a firm, I'd rather not say, but you all retained a firm prior to my arrival. And we brought to you all's attention the fact that they were supposed to shop the insurance rates, and they did not shop the insurance rates.
Oh, okay.
So we terminated the contract.
So you've indicated that One Digital can deliver services receiving compensation via commission.
Yes.
So as I understand, the commission is a percentage of the medical premiums, is that correct?
I do not know. They just have indicated that
I
they
wasn't
were.
familiar with this, and that's what I looked up, but
they
the
would-
questions that are out there are, if it's the higher the medical premiums are, the more income this company generates, and is that necessarily aligned with the best interest of our employees?
Well, no, it doesn't, but at the same time, that was the situation we were in with the prior firm. This firm has already indicated that they can bring us in 5% lower than where we are now. And that was at a subsequent communication after the interview. We all know insurance rates and everything else are going up. There's only so much we can control of that. However, they will shop and not just stay with one company year after year after year. So there is an incentive for them to do what they're supposed to do, which is bring us the best offer, because we can always end the contract and move on.
Does the contract include, what's the period of time for this contract? Let's see.
The period of time is, it's laid out in section, on the last page, Roman numeral 5.
Okay.
Successive one-year terms with 30-day notice.
Okay, that's reasonable.
For 1 year.
Okay.
Any good questions? Yeah, that's fine. I think, Ms. Simmons, you were involved in that selection, is that correct?
Yes, both companies interviewed very well, but
Okay.
it was kind of could have gone either way.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your work on that. Do you, you want to make that motion?
Sure, I will.
I think we've done, I remember that now, Mr. Costa, about getting, the other one failed to do the contract, to follow the contract.
I move to authorize the county administrator to accept the letter of engagement with One Digital presented this evening for employee health benefits, brokerage, and consulting services.
Second.
All right, you got a motion from Ms. Simmons and a proper second from Mr. Rourke. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, going to the, the MOU, United States Marine Corps.
Yes, and this was an addition item added. We have received an MOU, actually through the Sheriff's Office, for notification awareness of some activity that would be occurring through Nottoway County, not necessarily in Nottoway County. This is a standard process for the military. The county's already under an agreement with the United States Army. This is a separate group, obviously, a better group, the United States Marine Corps, and I say that as an Iwo Jima son. So you have a copy of the other agreement for reference, which the board has adopted, and you have the copy before you this evening, along with a set of minutes from the night that you all adopted that earlier agreement. Staff would recommend entering into the MOU.
All right.
I move to enter into the MOU with the Marine Corps.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
All right, got a motion to enter the MOU with the Marine Corps. I got a proper second. Any further discussion? Thank you for serving. And any veterans in here? Just curious. Anyone? Thank you for serving. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Sheriff, forgot about you. That's right. I got you. Thank y'all for serving. It's really, truly heartfelt. All right. Hearing no more discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Carson, for putting that on there.
And I thank the board's indulgence.
Okay. Consent items, I see you said Ms. Thomas under the weather a little bit.
tonight. Yep. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have Ms. Tomer's standard consent agenda items memo listed there. Each of the items listed has a descriptor following. I think I'll just go ahead and obviously I'll take any questions that I can answer. If there's something that we hold up, we'll just carry it over. But there is item number 7. This is regarding the lease for the waste management. That was one that was there last year, and you asked us to go back and take a look at it. And I think where the confusion may have been is for lease payments on a piece of equipment. I'll draw your attention to the second page, the very last paragraph before the suggested motion. 60 lease payments at the stated amount would equal $291,682.80 plus the purchase. Okay, we're not talking about purchasing. Okay, we're not going to buy it after it's been used, and that gives you the grand total of $3,076,942.80. But if you purchase this outright, your price is $289,697. You purchase right now, brand new. You're talking about a $2,000 difference. And
compared to buying it and leasing it.
Yes, sir. And I can tell you that the whole purpose of our wanting to lease this equipment is when it goes down, the company has to bring us something compatible to keep the work going.
That's right.
That's number one. Number two, our typical repair bill is anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500, and we have had a couple hit $10,000. So you're coming out way ahead going with the lease, and that would be staff's recommendation. And the motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented, including the authorization to execute the lease agreement with Carter Machinery. Be happy to take any questions.
All right. So if we, do you want to get a motion first to do the 1 through 6 and then just leave 7 on a different motion?
Ms. Tomer wrote it up as a combined.
Did she?
Yeah, she wrote it up as combined, but if you all want to break it out, you can break it out.
I'll leave it up to the board, pleasure of the board.
Separate, please.
You want to separate? All right. Well, give me, if you could, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent items 1 through 6, Mr. Roy.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Vaughn, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I second for discussion, please.
Yeah, got a second for discussion. You got the floor, sir.
All right. I was going through here, trying to catch up with some of this stuff here. There's some charges in here. I'll just give you a couple examples. All right. Okay. On page 2, Fulcrum counselors for $250. What is that?
I can't answer that question for you. Page 2?
Yes, page 2 on K1. K1 in your board packages.
Oh, I see it.
Okay.
I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously.
No,
I'm going to go just through a couple of them. It's the 4th item down, Fulcrum counselors. $250 says professional services other.
I don't know if that's with the school system or I do not know.
Okay. All right.
Can you get that answer and
Sure.
send it out to? We don't respond to it. Send an email and explain it, Mr. Costin, please.
Yeah, and there was one. It hit me. It was page 3. It was Dollywood. I believe that's about the library.
That's probably tied to the library.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. And like page 5, Gopher. Who is Gopher? It's about Midway. Gopher, $468.16, and it says materials and supplies. It's just, I mean, granted, companies come up with whatever kind of names, but it was just, I've never heard of it. I didn't know what it was, if,
I don't know either. I never heard of that either.
okay. Then on the,
I've heard of Handy Clean right behind it. That's right.
yeah.
Fulcrum Gopher is all school stuff. Fulcrum Counselors is an outside group that we brought in to help counsel students who need mental health support.
Okay,
And Gopher, they supply a lot of our PE gear that we've been trying to replace this year.
All right.
all right. And
Thank you.
So let me say it out loud, the public, so public, that they can hear it. Is your Gopher is with PE supplies, correct? Right, okay, we had that down. I know the microphone, they wouldn't be able to hear you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Roy.
all right, and this one may be relevant to the school too, because there's a charge here from McGuire Woods for $587.70 for legal services.
School.
Okay, then, and this is last, because as far as I went with this, obviously, Durazio Communications for $1,332.50. All right, is there, just a thought with this, is there any way we can break these things out? What is school and what is county?
I think we'll come up with something.
Okay.
Maybe it's just highlighting or something. We can do something like that. Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, and that was all I had, Mr. Chairman, my second stand.
All right. Okay, so we did get a second for discussion. Does anybody else have any more discussions? Good clarification, and thank you, Heather, for sharing
Thank
it
you.
with us. And Mr. Abbott. All right, here no more discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Good, so let's go back to the lease agreement. What do we want to do, gang?
Mr. Chairman, when I was looking on this, not unless I missed something, there was, there was a lot of fine writing in that, and my allergies got my eyes watering. But anyway, what is, on the warranty, the prices that we're talking about, like maintenance, most of this equipment comes with a maintenance contract for X amount of years, and also the warranty. How long is the warranty good for? Because I not unless I missed that.
All right, we haven't bought a piece of equipment since I've been here.
Right.
Okay. What I've been told by Mr. Easter is most of the equipment is pushing 10 or more years in age. So the warranties are done. The warranties are.
No, I'm talking about on the new one.
On the new one, okay, you wouldn't have, okay, you're not buying the new one. You're leasing the new one.
But what I'm saying, because of the minute difference in the price, and
what would your warranty?
Yes, how long would the warranty be? How long would they cover it? And doesn't it come with a maintenance contract?
You would probably pay. There would be a warranty. You would pay more for maintenance, but let's just say it breaks. It's under warranty. We don't have to pay a dime. The machine is down. We don't have anything to work with. Whereas with the lease, we call them and say, the machine is down, and they come out to pick it up, they're dropping off another machine that we can keep working. And that's really where we've gotten into, we've dodged some bullets, Mr. Rourke, in that landfill operation with machinery that wasn't working, and just by, we didn't have the state inspector show up.
Then after the warranty, you have to get an extended warranty, and then you're still out of money.
I guess this is kind of.
Let's go with the lease.
This was breaking new ground, Mr. Organ. I see some of your apprehension, but equipment is so expensive too, though. It's just, I was under the thinking that we do the lease, and of course we got the landfill survey. The waste survey that we're doing, and then kind of see what they recommend later. I mean, that's what.
Because we may not want to purchase it if we
right,
get out
and then
of
we
the
get
way.
that was kind of like my thought on it. So.
But are the hours sufficient? The 5,000 hours that they allow for the year, is that sufficient?
That's a good question. So in other words, to go with that 5,000, is it a penalty? And
How much? Because if we, if we're having to pay $350, $400 an hour over.
So where's my math guy? 40 hours. If it ran 40 hours in 52 weeks.
25
weeks.
That's many hours.
2,080 would still be okay if we ran the thing all the time.
Yeah, and they're not, because they're only, the days that the landfill is open would be the days that they're running it.
I'd be okay with leasing this one.
All right. I'm entertaining a motion for that then, for the lease agreement.
So move again.
All right, we got a motion from Mr. Vaughn.
Second.
We got a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. Good discussion, though. Thanks for doing your homework. We got correspondence, informational items in your packet. Anything that anybody want to talk about? All right, none. All right, let's go to the county administrator report. Mr. Costa, you got the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, basically some of these topics we've already hit on this evening. The most notable one that we haven't is the draft personnel policy manual has been delivered. Myself, Ms. Tomer, Ms. Presley are in the process of reviewing that. What we would like to do is bring forward to you the cover memo from the attorney, the document untouched, and then our responses and how we would proceed, how we would recommend the document being completed out. Get that package to you for review. The solid waste study is underway. Interviews have already been conducted with myself, Mr. Easter. There's been regular communications with the lead and our finance folks, and very importantly, all 3 town managers have been met with. Have already introduced to you the new building official, and we've already had a discussion about the CSA coordinator. And I indicated I am working, have been talking to some of the county administrators, but everybody seems to be doing it differently. We're probably, our best bet is to go with a full-time position. That's all I have, unless the board has any questions for me. I'd be happy to take those questions.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Costa? Clarification? Okay. All right, here none. Let's follow that on. So let's go to the comments from the members of the board. I'll start off with Vice Chairman Rourke, sir.
Board members, I've gotten a lot of comment about a story in the front page of the Courier Record yesterday about Mr. Jimmy Folks, and I just want to state on the record, Mr. Folks and I is all right.
Okay, good.
We are all right. Me and him had a wonderful conversation yesterday. We are not that far apart. I believe we are in the same book. We may not be on the same page, but we are absolutely on the same book.
Yeah, a lot of times it's the Jimmy Folks way, the Steve Bourne way, and everybody's way. And just thank y'all for at least having some of these hard conversations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And got forgiveness there, so that's good. One thing that I think that one thing I've learned as a board member is don't talk to each other through the newspaper. Talk to each other. Okay. All right. Ms. Simmons, Supervisor Simmons. Anything? All right. Supervisor Vaughn. Sorry. Any comments? Anything you'd like to talk
Yes, I have a big comment to make.
Okay.
I do not plan to seek a ninth term for this board.
Wow.
It has been a great pleasure and an honor to serve the citizens of the 4th District. But I do plan to finish my term. Okay. At the end of December will be 32 years.
Yeah. God bless you, sir.
All right. I know
I'm
that.
gonna have to get him a
Don't
sandwich.
give me anything, John.
Get him a sausage biscuit for his pot.
No, thank you, Mr. Vaughn. And
You might bring me another bag of candy.
I will.
All right. Supervisor Shackleton, how about you?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in response to inquiries I've received and in consideration of the approaching deadline to qualify and the potential interest of other candidates, I wanted to announce this evening that I will not be seeking re-election in November for the 5th District seat on the board, but I do look forward to actively continuing my work with this board until the end of my term. So thank you.
Well, job well done as well.
Thank you.
Any more comments? And thank you both. It's always an honor and pleasure working with you two. And people don't realize that we go at each other sometimes, but it's a special bond between us, and I can't explain it to you. It's just there. But anyway, as far as my report, I want to say that I really appreciate with the town's and Mr. Zodi and Mr. Costin, we're getting this Economic Development Committee working together, and I see the Mayor Green is here as well, and I didn't see any other mayors, but I'm sure they're watching it on video. They're watching me. I think it's really good to see that active, collaborative, working together, and I want to keep that momentum going for the county, and that really makes a difference with the make a difference in the tax revenue. I also want to thank everybody too for and I got Mr. Costin and Mr. Zodi who's working on a packet to give. To be able to offer, so if we could have some type of integrators to come in to keep these poultry farmers in business. And so they've kind of sent me a draft today, and he's got some ideas, so that's going to be on the work session with the EDC. Also, I went and Mr. Vaughn and I met with the CRC, the council Wednesday, and Mr. Zodi was there as well. I'm asking, so that represents 7 counties. I'm asking them, I'm hopefully going to have that on the, they're going to draft some type of resolution and send to the governor so we can let him know we're in this thing together. It's all about the farmers. It's not about what Nottoway gets, what Buckingham gets, what Cumberland gets. We're in this thing together. So we're looking to take that resolution and have all 7 counties sign it. And it will be a motion. Hopefully, we can put that on the floor sometime soon and send that to the governor. And some people say, "Well, what's the big hurry? If these chicken houses stay idle, you're gonna have problems with equipment. I mean, rodents. I mean, it's going to be a mess. And I'm afraid if it stays idle too long, we won't be able to find anybody else to be able to operate them. So, and I think that's one of the things. I think we all know somebody who's in that farming business and with the poultry. So keep those families in your prayers, and maybe a door will open up that we can that we all can be a part of. Okay. All right. With that said, I'm entertaining a motion to go in closed session for two different codes. Can Ms. Simmons, I'd like to lean on you again, please.
I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A7 for consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation. Where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding personnel matters and land use regulatory enforcement. And 2.2-3711A1 assignment and performance of Pacific County employees, specifically relating to personnel matters now pending in county administration.
Second.
All right, I got a motion to go in closed session and a proper second. Any further discussion? Before I put the vote up, when we go in closed session, we don't know what time we get out of it. I appreciate everybody's attendance tonight, and to break it down easy, it's litigation, and we're going to start the evaluation process. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're now going in closed session.
Could we have Mr. Zodi in
Yes.
just for one
Yes,
one
Zodi
item?
and Faith, please. Yes. Yeah, man. Hey, good to see you. I didn't get a chance to shake your hand for me. Right.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Good luck to you, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
I'll see you on Thursday.
All right.
I look forward
How are
to
you?
it.
I'm gonna be at a conference, so keep him under control.
Put that on me, bro. I gotta know. Good night. See, mine at home is on automatic, it's set to the one coming to in the daytime, I was gonna get knocked. So, look how close I am.
right, mic's on? No, okay. So, if I'm entertaining a motion to, come back into, open session.
So moved.
All right, got a motion coming back in open session, got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I need a motion, entertain a motion for certification.
Certification closed meeting. Whereas the Nottoway County Board, do we need a motion for it? Just go into the.
Just go into
You are.
I'm right, okay. Whereas the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed meetings was conducted in conformity with the Virginia law. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia law was discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were here discussed or considered by the Board of Supervisors, and 3, no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed.
Second.
All right, you got the motion to certify and got the proper second. Any further discussion? All right, here none. Mr. Costa, would you certify, please?
Yes,
Roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vaughn, do you, Supervisor Vaughn, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Shackleton, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Simmons, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Rourke, do you so certify?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen, do you so certify?
Yes.
The vote is 5-0, all certified.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Costin. No action will be taken tonight. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion to adjourn, got a second. All in favor, signify by standing up. Let's go home. Thank you.